Hello, my name is Simon Double, and welcome to Inside the Rails, a monthly podcast for horse racing enthusiasts everywhere. And before I'm joined by Phil Boyle from BG Racing, a very happy new year to all our listeners. And a very happy new year to you, Phil. How are you?
Great, thanks, Simon. Yeah, good to be back recording. I'd also like to wish the listeners a happy new year. Really appreciate the time that they take to listen to Inside the Rails. And obviously we only grow because our listeners tell people about us. So thanks for that if you have. How was your Christmas, Simon?
It was very nice, thank you. It wasn't particularly raucous. A bit of a first for me, actually. I spent Christmas Day in a pub. I hasten to add, not all day, Christmas lunch that was, with friends in a pub near Kew Bridge, overlooking the river. Very nice indeed. And what about you?
Yeah, I had a good one. Despite knowing numerous people have had coronavirus or needed to isolate just ahead of Christmas, we were really careful before Christmas with our socialising and managed to stay clear throughout the festivities. So we had my family over on Christmas Day, and I'm glad we managed that, as we ordered such a big turkey that we only finished it on New Year's Day. And without the family eating some, I think I would have still been having turkey sandwiches at the Cheltenham Festival in March this year. But there was some great racing action for us to discuss as well, wasn't there?
Absolutely, there certainly was, and we'll be looking at the review. Certainly you'll be having a good look as our National Hunt man. And we mentioned last month that we were going to try and get Di Arbuthnot, the Chief Executive of ROR, the Retraining of Racehorses charity, onto our podcast in January. And indeed, she is coming on later on. So really looking forward to hearing Di.
Yeah, that should be really interesting. Obviously, we both heard her speak at a Racehorse Syndicates Association meeting in December. And I was really interested in all the great work that they do, and I'm sure our listeners will be as well. They'll find a really entertaining guest, I'm sure.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Now, Phil, I understand you've been hanging out with the great and the good at the Horse Racing Writers and Photographers Awards back in December. How did you manage to procure a ticket to such a prestigious event?
I'm going to call it the HWPA Awards because having heard you cleverly pronounce it, I'm not going to try and go through because I stumble on it every time. But I got a last minute invite as a guest of Turf Tracks, the guys who make the going sticks on all of our race courses to test the ground conditions there. I know their chairman from my time working in pensions. I've been connected to him for quite a long time. And obviously I wasn't their first choice guest because he contacted me the day before.
A couple of their guests had... Surely not.
A couple of people had dropped out, but he knew I was into racing. He obviously knew me, and he contacted me and said, look, on the off chance, can you come up tomorrow? We'd love to have you on the table. So, yeah, I shared a table with AP McCoy. So
wow.
I was really hanging out with racing's big names. And, yeah, most people from TV and print media were there. Lee Mottershead from the Racing Post won the Top Writer Award. William Buick, whose agent we interviewed last month, was awarded Top Flat Jockey, which was a bit of compensation for him not winning the title. And then Lydia Hislop was top broadcaster, and Richard Johnson got a Lifetime Achievement Award as well, which was nice to see. He got a standing ovation led by AP from our table. So we were certainly some of the earliest on our feet as far as that was concerned.
Okay, sounds like a good afternoon. Did the DJ get an airing again?
It did. Yeah. Well, not the dinner jacket, the smart suit. It was a lounge suits event, but no. I once a year for the dinner jacket is probably fine.
Excellent. Now, what about afternoons at the racecourse? Have you had any runners during the last few weeks?
Yeah, I went racing on December the 29th at Newbury. I mentioned last month that we decided to help our trainer, Mike Atwater, with the costs of a horse that he owns and trains in exchange for him inviting us to the races to use the owner's badges. So that meant 7 of the BG Racing shareholders were at Newbury to see him run. It was really soft ground, though. We thought he'd quite enjoy that, but he clearly didn't. He was struggling on it right from the start of the race, and he ended up pulled up. But we still had a good afternoon. We had lunch in the Newbury Owners restaurant, and we were really well looked after. How about you? I think you went racing twice in 3 days, didn't you?
I did, yes. We had Twilight Bay, the 2-year-old filly, having her third run on the 17th of December. We wanted to get a third run into her fairly quickly, and she was over 7 furlongs, which was a bit far. So she didn't actually cover herself in glory, but showed a lot of speed early on, and she's got a handicap mark now. Funny enough, she was given a handicap mark of 58, which I thought was a little bit high. But then about a week later, the handicapper dropped her to 56. And just for the benefit of listeners, this is often done on collateral form. So even if the horse hasn't run again, but some of the horses she's run against have run and they've disappointed, the handicapper, and he does this quite often with 2-year-olds, will drop. So we're very grateful for the extra £2. Thank you, Mr. Handicapper. And Sharp Distinction ran on the 19th, and he ran very well. He was second. He was having his third run. He's got a handicap mark of 75. We're expecting some good things from him next year. He'll have a break now. We are actually going to keep Twilight Bay on the go. And in fact, she'll be entered for next week at Kempton in a handicap. So, and over 6 furlongs. Looking forward to that. It's been a busy month, as I said. I went to Childrickbury Stud, where our horses often go for a holiday. I went there just before Christmas with 1 or 2 owners to see Dancing in the Woods. He's had a really good time off. He's been off for about 3 months, but it's a holiday, not injury, which is great. And then yesterday I went up to Newmarket to Amy Murphy's yard to see the new Buratino colt, who's in training there. It's the first time I've seen him since he's been ridden. He was actually broken in fully about a week ago. And I have to say, he moves beautifully. He's only walking and trotting. But and by the way, those are not my words. They're the words of his trainer, Amy Murphy. So who am I to contradict Amy? And on top of that, I organised the Solario Racing Christmas lunch, where our owners got together shortly before Christmas, had a very nice Turkish meal. We did a quiz. We divided up into 2 teams, and very nice to see Amy there with her husband, Lemos de Souza, and Team Amy won by 1 point, much to the annoyance of the other team. But good fun was had by all, and I think you organised a BG Racing Christmas lunch on the same day, didn't you, Phil?
I did, yes. No quiz, but several of my shareholders came down to Neil Mulholland's yard in Bath. We saw some of his horses on the gallops before going to visit our horse, Dynamic Kate, who's on box rest at the moment. We fed her a few carrots, and then we raced off to a local pub for lunch and, had a really nice Christmas lunch. And I think that stuff's great. It's as important as going to the races for members of a syndicate or racing club. They can stand on the gallops with a trainer who they'd normally only otherwise see on TV, and they can have a chat to them, ask them questions. And, you can really see that people are enjoying that opportunity.
I think you're absolutely right, Phil. We deal with trainers, don't we, as syndicators all the time. And sometimes, we can get a bit blasé, and it's easy to forget that most people don't have access to the inner sanctum. But if you join a syndicate or a racing club, it's a great way to enjoy those opportunities behind the scenes. So that was December. What does the new year have in store for Phil Boyle and BG Racing?
Quite a lot of admin at the moment. It's a busy time of year for me with shareholder renewals. I do everything annually, so busy renewing those. We're hoping to get back racing with Joey's Gift. If we can find him some better ground sometime in the middle of the month. And I'm also planning on going to the Winter Million meeting at Lingfield late in the month. I think that's a great initiative. There's some really good prize money on offer there. And I hope the weather's kind to them, because the ground there is very heavy at the moment. I wouldn't want it to be waterlogged and abandoned. They've put a lot of work in.
They have. I think it's a 3-day meeting, isn't it? 2 days on the jumps and 1 on the flat, if I remember correctly. And it's some great prize money on offer. Lingfield have made a really good effort to attract syndicate runners, haven't they? They put together a package of offers for Racehorse Syndicate Association members, and I believe they're trialling something for the first time, a syndicate lounge for owners. Is that right?
Yeah, they are. It's something I hope works really well. I spoke to some of the representatives of the course ahead of the meeting, and they were asking sort of what sort of things syndicate members would like. Delighted that they've sort of gone with these, because it's something that we've been pushing for quite some time, that when a syndicate's got a large group attending, it's obviously hard to give everybody, owner and trainers, access, because the owners and trainers' facilities then become crowded. But with a syndicate area available to syndicates with runners, courses will hopefully be able to provide more badges. That gets more people to the races, and that's got to be a good thing. Obviously, I hope you'll be coming down to Lingfield as well, but what else are you up to this month?
Yeah, I hope to try and get down to Lingfield if I can. Now, what have I been up to? Yeah, I've got a whole raft of hospitality events lined up, about 11 events, I think, for 2022.
Right.
Including visits to stud farms like Darley Stud. If Monsieur Macron eases things a little bit, hope to get to the Arc de Triomphe in the autumn.
Right.
So I've got all the events lined up. Now I've actually got to market them to various owners. And I mentioned the Buratino colt, which I bought at book 3 of the yearling sales back in October. So I bought him. Now I've got to sell the shares, get some more owners on board, and yes, looking forward to doing that.
Who knows? Maybe somebody's listening now will get in touch.
Well, that'd be nice, wouldn't it? Yeah, let's hope so. Anyway, we need to crack on with the racing because I know you've been very busy with your notebook. You've always got that PBN, the Phil Boyle notebook handy. What's gone into it during the last few weeks?
Well, I've probably got to start by saying that there was so much high quality action this month. I can't possibly cover it all because we'll be here all day. So my apologies to anybody that was impressed by something that I don't mention. But starting all the way back at the start of December, Constitution Hill looked a cracking novice hurdler in the Michael Buckley colours for Nicky Henderson. He made his debut at Sandown, couldn't have been more impressive. And with John Bon also in the same yard, Nicky could have a couple of really good novice hurdlers this season. I think they both look a bit special. In the middle of the month, I spent 2 days at Cheltenham. Unusually, there wasn't too much I noted from the meeting. The highlight of my 2 days was actually a horse from Neil Mulholland's yard, one of my trainers. Kansas City Chief seems to have got a new lease of life, age 12. He won his second race at the course this season, and he was second there on New Year's Day as well. So that was his fourth run there. He's now had a first, a third, a first and a second. And he's just turned 13 on New Year's Day, so it's not bad for an old-timer. The Pertemps is the obvious race for him at the same course. I don't know whether that's the plan or not, but it would be great if it was. And that really would be a dream for his amateur rider, Victoria Malzard. She's had some lovely days out with him. There was a super impressive winner at Cheltenham, which was Commodore. I would have certainly got him into my notebook, but I looked him up and realised that all his best form has been when he's fresh from a break. So that run was probably the one. I'll probably missed the boat on that one. Should have really looked beforehand. It was a bit after timing, that one. My Drogo ran well, but he's not really for me. I think his jumping might let him down when he's taken on. It did in November at Cheltenham, and I wouldn't like to be supporting him at short odds if he was taken on by something else pretty decent. I haven't had a lot of luck with the cross-country course this year. I backed Diesel Dallier in November in the cross-country race there, and he was beaten. So I deserted him in December, and he came back and won. So that was obviously pleasing. He should be a player in the cross-country at the festival, though. So maybe we'll get things back there. And it was great to see Cool Cody getting payback from a fall last time in the Paddy Power in November. He might have won that, but he won the big handicap chase in December. Evan Williams is having a great season. He's done really well with him. But every time I see the horse run, I can't help but feel sorry for Michael Blake. He's a small trainer. He sometimes uses Neil's gallops down in Bath, so I see him on the gallops down there quite regularly. And he had Cool Cody a while ago. Had a couple of wins with him, but then the owner moved him over to Evan Williams' yard. And yeah, as a small trainer, Michael must be absolutely gutted every time he sees the horse run well in these big races, as obviously it could have been for him.
Yeah, it is frustrating for these smaller trainers when that happens, doesn't it? But as they say, that's racing. And then, of course, we moved on to Boxing Day, where a 28-1 winner, real surprise winner, Tornado Flyer from the Willie Mullins yard, the all-conquering Willie Mullins yard, was a surprise winner of the King George. Well, certainly a surprise to me. Bryony Frost on Froden and Rachel Blackmore on Manila Indo. Look, they've been carrying all before them, these two jockeys. Far be it from me, an armchair jockey, to criticise, but maybe they cut each other's throats a little bit early on. Not sure. Froden obviously is a front runner, but I'm not totally convinced about the form of the race. I was on Asterion Forlange, the other Willie Mullins horse, who fell at the last. Not sure he'd have won, but he was a bit unlucky. I certainly didn't back the winner. What about you, Phil? Did you get it?
Well, yeah, there were 9 runners in the King George, and if you told me I could bet on 8 of them, I would have missed the winner. So, that was how I rated Tornado Fly, I'm afraid, which is probably one to bear in mind if you're going to follow any of my other tips.
Oh, don't do yourself down. Don't do yourself down. Now, did anything else catch your eye at Kempton? Brave Man's Game beat a horse that I mentioned last month, Ahoy Senor. I have to say they met, and Ahoy Senor never really got into a rhythm, did he? The other horse, the winner, Brave Man's Game, did look impressive. I still think it may be a bit too early to rule out Ahoy Senor, but possibly he was a better hurdler than he is a chaser. What are your thoughts, Phil?
Yeah, I don't know. I think you're right. It's a bit early with a Hoi Senor. I'm not sure he ran his race, but Paul Nichols really clearly rates Braveman's game very highly. I was a bit dismissive of him last month. I said I wasn't impressed with his previous win, but I might have to backtrack on that if he keeps winning. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see whether he goes on from there. As I say, he's clearly rated quite high by the yard. It was good to see Epatante